Hello everyone and welcome to another video. My name is Shani and today I'm working on a commission. This is going to be a whimsical portrait for a friend of mine, and she requested that I add hibiscus flowers in it, which I had never actually drawn before. So you can see in the top left I kind of struggled with the colored pencil. And then I grabbed pen because I needed to get an idea of how the values work first. And I think I was getting ahead of myself by already jumping to color. And so once I did that, I kind of got a better idea of what it's supposed to look like. And I like the turnout of the last few flowers a lot better. So as for it being whimsical, she also wanted to include a few other details. Like she wanted a lion because she's a Leo. So here I'm picking out some references. When I'm looking for reference photos, I try to keep in mind what was requested for the overall commission. And she specifically wanted to do a side profile of herself in the portrait. So I wanted to kind of include a lion looking the other way. And so I found the perfect one. I feel like that one really just kind of caught my eye. And then I also went ahead and tried to find some fairy-esque plants. I really enjoy the curliness of these vines. I thought that would be really fun to add, and I think it really goes with the overall theme. And then I also went ahead to look for some interesting bugs and also include like the hibiscus flower. She wanted ladybugs, so I'm doing ladybugs. I added a few extra things like this moth. I just couldn't pass it up. I don't know why. It just called to me. I thought it was so pretty. So these are the references that I have for this commission, and I'm really excited to get into it. First, I'm starting out with the lion. And it was a little bit intimidating at first. I did a very light sketch initially. That's going to be a little bit hard to see at first, but bear with me. And once I kind of got into it, I was able to see what I was going for a lot clearer, and it just helped me to visualize where I'm going to place everything. So that's kind of where I start. If I'm scared, I'll just do a little wash first of values with my colored pencil, and I always try to turn towards one color first. It's also nice because if you choose a fun color, it typically can still shine through the overall drawing, which is something that I really enjoy incorporating in my artwork. I'm really glad that I got a chance to sit and record this whole process because my style has changed a lot in the past couple years, and I think this is the first time that I've really felt confident. I'll always be improving and learning from my artwork and from others, but I do think it's really important to keep in mind that your individuality really stands out, and that can be why people are drawn towards your artwork. Not necessarily because it's perfect, but because it reflects something not only in you, but I think it's really cool whenever your artwork also resonates with other people on a personal level and kind of draws them towards you in that way. So I try to keep that in mind now. I try not to be so critical on myself, and I really do love the little storybook style that I kind of have developed where my artwork has a lot of character. So that's something that I'm kind of more focused on right now, is just developing more vibrancy and less about making my portraits perfect. So it's a lot more fun that way anyway. So here I finally got around to working on the actual portrait. I added her head kind of meshing in with the lion's face a little bit, and She's turned a bit to the side as well, the opposite direction, which made sense to me with the overall composition. I didn't really want to find a reference where they were both facing the same direction because I just didn't think that that would look like how I wanted it to. So, this is what I was envisioning, and I finally got to working on her face shape. I was mostly doing the same thing that I did with the lion, where I was going in with more of the values rather than the details. I think I did okay with that on this portrait. I probably could have done without some of the details, but again, I'm not really trying to make this look perfectly like my references. I do enjoy adding a little bit more of my own sort of style to it. Something else that has really helped boost my confidence in drawing, especially drawing realism, is the type of paper that I use. This is a sketchbook that I got a while back, and it has two different types of paper. So it's mixed media, and it's great for markers, everything. But the most important thing is that they have warm toned paper and cool toned paper, which is really, really helpful when it comes to drawing realistically and especially drawing with colored pencil. I chose a warm toned paper for this portrait specifically because I knew that I was going to be adding a lot of vibrant colors, and sometimes it can kind of affect the overall drawing if I use the cool toned with warm colors. Whenever I do that, I notice that it starts to make the piece look more gray, and that can work with certain types of color schemes. But specifically for this one, I knew that I really wanted it to be warm because of the lion, and I just knew that this toned paper was going to be the right choice for this portrait. But I think it's really cool that I have the option of both, just in case if I'm drawing something that I could use cool toned paper for. But it's literally life changing. I don't know when I switched specifically to toned paper, but it was the best decision I've ever made. You can compare it to whenever you start a brand new painting on a fresh canvas. It's always good to start with a wash, and usually you'll do a wash of like burnt umber, which is the average wash for like oil paintings specifically. I personally believe that it makes just as much of a difference when you're working with colored pencil or any other medium to start off with a wash instead of just a blank canvas. So, a little side note, I do start working on her face here, and in a little bit, you'll see that I kind of get both of her eyes done, but then it feels like something's a little bit off. So, I go back and I actually do change it. So, it's good to kind of get up, walk away from your drawing, come back to it. And like I said, this particular portrait took me around 3 days to complete, and that was working on it every night, I believe, as much as I could. So every time that I came back to the portrait, I would notice if there was something off so that I could change it. When you're staring at the portrait for too long, you kind of don't really notice when you've made any sort of mistake. So that's something to keep in mind. Like, this looks totally fine, but I could just tell something was off from my actual reference. So instead of letting it stay like that, I did decide to make the change to make it more accurate. Back to talking about the sketchbook, because for some reason that's really important to me. I went to Michael's. Oh, see, I'm erasing her eye here. Actually, I ended up erasing both of them. Okay, fair enough. And with this perspective, it's like right over the drawing, so I feel like you can really tell if something's off. But, anyways, you'll see me working on that and fixing her eyes up. I went to Michael's and I got a spiral notebook, but I got a smaller version than the one that I'm using here. I wanted something that I could carry with me, that I could do practice drawings in, that I could do like sketches to learn from, just like a sketchbook that I could actually bring with me and be more consistent in. So it's all blank paper, like all white. And it's the type of paper that I personally like. I like the kind of paper that there's not a lot of graininess in it. You can't really feel a texture, and it's overall just very soft, but it's still very thick. Anyways, I cannot find another sketchbook that's a smaller size, the same type of paper that I like, but just toned. So I even considered, should I dye my paper in my sketchbook? And is that even possible to do? Because I'm thinking coffee could be a really good wash for my sketchbook, for my drawings, but then all the paper is going to warp because it's going to be soaked. Realistically, how would I do this? And is this a good idea? Because I've been sitting on it for a while. I haven't even used that sketchbook yet because I'm telling you, toned sketchbook paper just has me in a chokehold. And this isn't really necessary for me to go so in depth about, but this is really how much that it's changed my life and changed how I approach drawing. So I just want that same level of confidence in a smaller size sketchbook. Is that too much for a girl to ask? All right, I'll let it go. I added the changes to her face, and now I get to do the fun part, which is adding all those curly vines. And I added a few flowers that really reminded me of something that a fairy would live in. So I had a lot of fun adding in all those little details, and I did everything pretty roughly at first because I didn't end up adding all the plants that I wanted to initially. And then in this corner is actually where I decided to put the hibiscus flower, which ended up perfect placement. So you'll see how that kind of develops as well. I spent a lot of time with this purple pencil. Me and this purple pencil became best friends. We learned a lot about each other. I'm mostly kidding, but I did spend a lot of time with this colored pencil, but I think it was for a good reason. I wasn't finalizing any of the details yet, which is important, especially because I kept erasing just like that. So nothing that I was adding was permanent, and that gives me a lot of room to change things up. I did end up making more changes, so it's good that I stuck with this kind of colored pencil. It's easy to erase and nothing is permanent, so it's good. It's still a sketch, so don't be so hard on yourself. I just feel like maybe rewatching this, it's getting a little boring. But anyways, so here I'm sketching out where I'm going to put the hibiscus flower. I think it was a really good placement too. And okay, wait, no way. I'm actually switching to another color pencil right now. I believe this is violet, and all of my colored pencils are Prisma. I love how smooth they are, so I always use Prisma. But if you have any recommendations of different colored pencils that you enjoy using, please let me know because I'm always open to trying more. That's honestly kind of what I'm looking to do with this channel as well, is be able to try different mediums that I haven't had a chance to yet. Prismas are pretty high up on my list just because they're really the only brand that I've used for a while and I've never had an issue with them. It also takes a little bit of time to actually learn how to use the different mediums too. Like with colored pencils, I found myself just pressing really, really hard in order to replicate my references. And now I kind of just build up my colors, and I feel like that's a lot better of a technique. Besides the fact that I just love drawing portraits, I'm actually doing these to build up my tattoo portfolio. So this one in particular, since I'm using so much purple, it literally reminds me of a tattoo stencil. But I am building up my portfolio to eventually find an apprenticeship, and it's not really my highest priority right now. I've actually have a full-time job, so I can't really prioritize it just yet. And I also just really love all types of art. I don't know if I've mentioned that already. I probably have. mean, this is like, there's 40 minutes for me to talk, so I'm probably going to repeat myself a couple times. So I do apologize for that. This is probably the longest voiceover I've ever done, actually. And it's tough. It is hard to talk for so long. I like run out of things to talk about at some point. But I hope you guys are enjoying this process so far. I really enjoy watching I believe it's but she's another artist and she does longer form like videos where she did the 100 heads videos where she draws 100 different portraits, which I was super inspired by as well. I just love her style of like videos because I can kind of just put it on in the background. I can work on art myself. I get a lot of really good tips from her, so she's probably one of my favorite YouTubers right now. And I think I'll just try to drop her YouTube channel in my description because I do forget what her what her channel name is. I would say if you enjoy this video, go ahead and check out hers as well because she's very insightful. And she's tried a lot of different types of mediums that I hadn't even heard of. So I highly recommend checking her out if you are interested. Eventually, I'll be there where I'm able to try out more different mediums. That's something that I plan to work on this year because I feel like me and her are very similar. Like she kind of just grasps at anything. And I'm the same way. I do enjoy trying different types of styles, different mediums, different techniques. So I'm a huge fan. Anyways, back to this drawing. So I pretty much just ended up adding little ladybugs here and there as well because I thought it'd be a cute little touch. You can see I added some swirls next to the hibiscus flower. Those aren't really anything. Those are very for whimsical vibe. That's really kind of what I was going for. Because I added those curly vines, I just felt like I needed something in the corner that gave off that same sort of effect so that everything is cohesive. And yeah, I think this is the same night. So I pretty much sketched this all out in one night and I went for as long as I possibly could. Here I ended up going in with some color, finally switching it up. And as I said earlier, these pencils are really good for layering, so that's kind of what I focused on is a little bit of the undercolors that she had in her face. I know that I wanted to add more blush. I wanted the portrait to be very vibrant, so I even went in with this purple and added it into her hair. At this point, I'm very excited. Obviously, I've been using the color purple for about 3 hours straight, and I'm ready to really get into this drawing and really make it more lively. So that's all good, but there's this thing that I like to call color tag. And in this instance, I did not listen to myself. It's okay though, it ended up being fine, but I highly suggest considering color tag, which is basically something that I just made up. But hear me out. So color tag is basically when you have a color and you have multiple different objects in your overall piece. For example, I'm working on her face first. I'm using a blue colored pencil. Once I get the values on her face, I'm going to switch to the lion's face instead of just focusing on her. And you can see I didn't listen to myself in this, so it kind of causes this sort of separation between the two different objects, which is fine. And I don't always do color tag, but I do think it's a good idea, especially when you're working on a bigger piece and you want everything to have the same overall vibrancy. So yeah, not a big deal, but I do think that because this video is based on giving you guys tips and showing you through my process, that's something that I wish I would have showed you in this video while I was working on this portrait. But I don't know, I think I just got really excited, honestly, to start working on her face and do all these different fun colors. So I ended up very happy with the way that the layering turned out, especially with the highlights in her face. And then I also kind of incorporated a few different colors into her hair, and you can see the reflections of it on her face as well, which it made for a really great effect. So it worked out. And even though I finished all of her hair, I ended up deciding that I needed to change and erase. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, I already made things pretty permanent, but I had to go back and erase because I just wasn't happy with the separation, like I said, proving myself right. So I should have not like focused too much on her because the overall piece, the lion, is in the back now and you can't really see his face as much. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna need to fix that. What am I gonna do? So I ended up erasing part of the top of her head to have it blend more with the lion, and you'll kind of see what I mean. It's hard to kind of explain, but I just feel like that was a really good like idea. Even though it sucks that I had to erase at this point, it's still not the end of the world, and it ended up working out. Here I finally made it to start working on the lion's face though, and I started out with that darn blue. I started out with that blue, and although I should have been incorporating it at the same time as working on her face, it's all going to be okay. I have learned, I have lived, laughed, and loved, and it's a learning process. It's okay. This is where I made the decision to erase part of her hair, and I think it was a good call. I kind of just decided to pretend it didn't happen and continue working on the lion's face. Adding the blue and purple to the lion's face kind of started to make it look 3D, so that was kind of cool. I pretty much just layered it up the same way that I did for her face, and I don't really remember how long I worked on the lion this night, but I don't think I got to any colors. I guess we'll see. But I just continued to build up. And since I used purple, I think that was a really good call for the sketch. If I were to have used black, for example, like on her eyelashes or her nose, or like if I solidified any of those details with black, I think I would have lost sight of all the vibrant colors that I should add to the lion and to everything else, because I'd be focused on how dark the black color is and trying to press really hard and match the darkness of that color. So it's probably a good idea that I didn't do that. I just continued to layer with very light, bright colors. It's the next day, so I guess that's all I got done with that day. And we're on to the next day. All right, here we go. We got some sleep. The sun will be going down in the background, so don't mind that. I got home a little bit early from my shift this day, so I was able to start on the portrait as soon as I got home, and it was still daylight. So I remember being very excited about that. Just getting myself all cozy. And I guess I moved on from the lion to her hair. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, good. So this is color tag. Good job. Oh, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of my past self. So this is color tag. I started working on the colors of her hair, and then I started incorporating them to the lion. I'm really glad that you guys are getting finally a visual of that, and for a second I felt kind of crazy. I was like, did I really just make that up from this voiceover, or was that actually a thing that I did in this portrait? So apparently I did do it, so that's good. Although I didn't do color tag initially, I did try to match all the colors to the lion that I saw in her face. So that's, I guess, another form of color tag. I just want to say thank you so much to anyone who's still hanging out with me watching this video. I know it's quite a long one, but I just wanted to share my whole process, and I think this will be really cool for me to look back on in the future once I've gotten a lot more experience with doing more portraits, more commissions. Maybe once I have my tattoo apprenticeship, it'll be really cool to look back on it, because these are the portraits that helped get me there. So I'm really glad that I get to dedicate more time to filming for this channel, especially this video. I've been sitting on this video trying to edit it for a while now, but everyone's been home, so it's been impossible for me to edit and voice over it. So It took a little bit longer than expected. As of right now, since this video was filmed back in November, I actually have a Christmas setup. So instead of the pumpkins that you saw earlier, now I finally have some cute little Christmas lights. So those are going to be twinkling in the background of my next video. And I'm also just really excited for the new year. Tons of fun stuff coming up. It hasn't snowed yet though, and I've really been waiting. I want it to snow. It snowed a little bit in the beginning of November, but like barely snowed at all. Like basically melted once it touched the ground. So I don't know. I'm hoping we get snow soon. Christmas is like in 15 days. I just can't believe how quickly the month passed. I don't know. It's insane to me. So now you can see the sun is setting in the background because unfortunately, it being like wintertime, the sun sets so quick. I just feel like there's no time in the day. So now we're getting back to the cozy lighting, the warm, cozy lighting, and we're finishing up this portrait. At this point, I think, oh my gosh, so funny story. I was cooking rice and my roommate came in and asked me, "Oh, Shani, are you cooking rice?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it's because my rice was on the stove burning to the pan because I was recording this video and I didn't realize that it was burning. I think just now that was me leaving to go and get that figured out. I ended up putting another pot of rice because I was trying to cook dinner, okay? I was trying to like be good and not just torture myself to draw all night. I wanted to make myself some food. So I put another pan of rice, but yeah, I was pretty embarrassed about that because I was just peacefully drawing and then I had to jump up and I realized I was burning my food. I didn't get to mention in between that story, but look at how beautiful the lion looks. I always learn from each of my portraits, and specifically in this one, I knew that I was going to have a little bit of trouble with drawing the fur. So layering underneath all of the values makes that process so much quicker, and I think overall it just blends a lot easier. It's not like I'm drawing every individual hair, but my kind of technique is just to layer up the colors that I see underneath the fur and build on top of them. And that way, when I go over with like my cream colored color pencil, I'm able to blend all of the like values together, if that makes sense. I think I'm probably going to zoom in again so you can see better, but right now I'm working on the vines. This part was really fun. I love that color of green. It's so vibrant. I didn't have to do very many layers of it, and it's so creamy. That's actually my favorite. That's actually my favorite color, by the way. And oh my gosh, look at it. I'm wearing ladybug ring. Oh, that's so cute. If you got to see my last video, I recently sold out of my ladybug rings, and I just finally got a new package in of more dried specimens. So I'm able to continue making more orders. Luckily, I got my listing back up. So if you want one, let a girl know. I'll put it in my description. I totally forgot in my last video. Haha. But it's okay. They're back in stock now, so get yourself one as soon as you can before they go out of stock again. I honestly freaked out when I was looking in the mailbox this morning because it wasn't there. But we live in a really old house. I think this house was built in like the 40s or the 50s. I forget. But it was built a long time ago, and they have one of those little metal mail flaps, and then we have a separate mailbox on the side of the house. So I'm like looking in the separate mailbox thinking it's going to be in there. That's where they usually leave the mail. And they put it in that little metal slot that I didn't even know worked. So I was like, I had a little panic attack this morning because it said my order was dropped off. And I was like, I want to get this listing back up. So luckily they put it there and I was able to find it. Just a little silly moment, a brain fart moment. But yeah, I'm I'm excited to make more. The other ring that I'm wearing though on my left hand, I've been wearing this little spider ring that I made from this crumpled up spider that I found in the basement. I know that's so weird to mention, but I mean, that's just who I am. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. That's just who I am. I love preserving bugs in jewelry. It's so fun. So, I'm finally working on that beautiful, vibrant hibiscus flower. Oh my gosh. It really started to come together when I added in these flowers and the plants. I know I kept talking over it, but look at how beautiful this petal looks. I really locked in. So, I'm so proud of it. So here I went in just like I did with everything else. I did my purple undersketch, and then I really liked the dark purple paired with this pink. So I ended up using the purple as my darkest value for the hibiscus flower. And I think I might have done that with all of the other plants as well. I also incorporated this bright orange and a little bit of yellow. And I think that really helped to make it like pop. And also, I wanted it to look very tropical because hibiscus flowers typically are a more tropical flower. Practicing this hibiscus flower made a huge difference in this portrait, by the way. I feel like typically my flowers end up looking very cartoonish. And since I practiced this hibiscus flower beforehand, I got an idea of how it would look if I just wung it. And in the beginning, you could see that my first colored pencil attempts, they definitely did not turn out how I had wanted them to, and that's okay. So that's the whole point of practicing. And I do need to practice doing flowers just on their own anyway, because I'm trying to build up a portfolio. I think it's good to be really well-rounded in all kinds of different objects, especially flowers, because flowers are very, very common for tattoos. So these are all things that I think about when I'm doing these commissions. Like, I can't be afraid to try something or draw something I never have before. I don't know why this is so blurry. I'm sorry. That's kind of annoying. It's right there. Everything else around it is not blurry, but just that. Okay. I think it could honestly be fun for me to sit down and do a whole video dedicated to drawing flowers, because that's something I definitely know I need to work on, and I had a lot of fun drawing this flower. Like I said, I'm really happy with Prismacolors. You can see how well they layer, how well they blend. They're very creamy consistency. They're not very waxy, I'd say. And if you do need to erase them, it's possible. It's not the easiest, but it's possible. You can even tell by the way that the lion blends in with her hair. It did work out, but you can still kind of see a little bit of a darkness there, but I don't know. I feel like it's like a learning experience. So I'm glad that I did erase whenever I did, because I wasn't too far into the portrait, and I think it made a huge difference personally. So now, like I said, I wanted to make sure that their eyes match. I needed the lion's eyes. She wanted her eyes to also be very vibrant because that's her favorite feature, which I think is so, her eyes are beautiful. So I went ahead and I wanted their eyes to really pop. And finally, look at me going in with black. That's a huge commitment. Oh my gosh. I didn't know I did that so early. The portrait's almost done, to be fair. At this point, the black really pulls everything together instead of like dulling everything. So I'm really using it sort of sparingly. The mane of the lion in my reference photo did have a lot of black in it, so I kind of waited until the very end to add that. I do go in with a couple other colors as well into his mane to make it match her hair. And overall, it's all about just kind of adding those last details. The moth was the trickiest part for me. I had a little bit of trouble because my reference photo was an all white moth, and the values in it didn't really match with my overall portrait. It didn't have any warm tones in it, so I decided to go in with blue first, do a little bit of color matching, color tag. Color matching, that's what it's called. But I like color tag anyway. So that's what I did first, and I tried to make it look a little bit furry by adding some shading around the edges, kind of like a little bit, it's like a fuzzy moth. So I added that, and then I went in with my white colored pencil and I just kind of started putting some white on top and just kind of see where it goes. So everywhere that is in between is blue. And then you can see in the corner, I added in a little bit of green. I wanted it to obviously connect with the rest of the portrait, so I added some colors from everything else. Wow, it's really hard to see. I'm sorry. I don't know why I filmed it like this. The blue was definitely a good call, but I did add in even some purple, a little tiny bit of pink, adding my final details to the moth, and that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you really got something out of it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next video. Bye!